those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, strong men, mighty men. 23. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. So fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. 24. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king was astonished. Astonished. It says astonished, and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast three men bound in the midst of the firing? Didn't we not bound them? He said, Didn't we not bound them? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king, true, O king. They think he's a true, O king. And then it says, 25, he answered and said, Lo, I see four men loose walking in the midst of fire. They could see four, not three, four. There was another person in there. And they have no hurt. In the form of the fourth is like the Son of God, Christ, the Son of God. 26. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God. You see that? Ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. 27. And the prince, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power. The element of fire had no power, nor was a hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of the fire had passed on them. This is how much people believe in death, brothers and sisters. It's the destruction of the flesh with the works of their hands. They believe in death so much. Corruption. When the Father did not make none of that. Verse 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies, and they might not serve nor worship any God, except their own God, their own power. Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort, after that manner. 30. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. They found favor in the eyes of the Nebuchadnezzar, the king. You know, when the children are amongst other nations, other cities, other, tongues, you're highly blessed when you're there, highly favored from the Most High God through the people around you. When you're at work, you're highly favored. I got to my spirit when they fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. But you see, brothers and sisters, this is another account that there's no such thing as death. They did not believe. They believe that their Father, their Creator, who's in control of all things, will spare them from such thing that could burn them. And fear, was placed upon this king, but, like, he's like, oh my gosh, the God they believe in, it's true. So it turned on them, like they repented, like, oh my gosh, like we were wrong. And they honored them. They honored them. On chapter 4, it just continues to talk about how Nebuchadnezzar just is marveled, and he's in awe, just how everything, what he saw. But this is what I wanted to show you, brothers and sisters. Now, in the Bible, it doesn't talk much about Enoch, but there is other accounts of Enoch, other books that talks about Enoch, more details of what he did. But on Hebrews 11:5, it says, let's go to Hebrews 11:5. Hebrews 11:5. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony that he pleased God, that he pleased him. Enoch had such faith in the Most High God. Verse 6, but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is rewarded. He is rewarded to them that diligently seek him. Just like Shimrock, Meshach, and Abednego. I always have a hard time with their names, but Abednego. Just like they had such expectation from the Most High God that he would deliver them, even if he didn't. If he didn't, that was their faith, because they refused to bow down. They refused to bow down to the image of a man, of a made man, created by his own works, like Wisdom of Solomon talks about. They knew the image they were created after. They were created in the likeness and image of the Most High God. That's the image they were created. They knew who they were. They knew that they were awakened. They came out of the matrix. They knew who their God was. They knew that death did not exist. They knew that. They knew. So we're going to go to Genesis. Genesis 1. And oh, wait a minute. I wanted to show you what translation means. So in Hebrews 11:5, where we just read, the Strong Concordance number 3346 in the Hebrew, this is what it is. It's right here. This highlighted part, I know you can't really see, but it says, the word translated means metatithemi, metatithemi, metatithemi. It says, these are the words it says: transport, change sides, change, remove, translate. Metatithemi, to place among, put in another place, implying change, to remove a person or thing from one place to another. Were carried over. It also to change. To change oneself signifies in the middle voice. All this, that's what it means to translate. Turning. It means to change. In a blink of an eye, they transfigured. They changed from, they went from mortality to immortality because they got the mystery. They understood the mystery of God. To them it is given, to them it's given, and to them is given parables. It is given parables to them. But to you, it is given the mystery of God, But to them is given into parables. But to you, you understand the mystery. Excuse me. But Yeshua appeared out of nowhere, in the midst of the disciples. He appeared to them in the midst of the disciples, like after the resurrection. Death had no hold of him. Death had no hold of him. He tried to prove to everybody, hey, I'm still here. When two or more gather in his name, he's there in the midst, listening, interceding to our Father. The angels are around us. You might not see them according to your faith, and some of us have. Some of us seen demons. It's according to your faith. Whatsoever you believeth in your heart, so shall you be, so shall you be. It's according to your faith. Just like Christ said to the woman, your faith has made you whole. It was because when the woman that bled over 12 years, she said, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I shall be made whole. She believed because she believed this man, his words, his testimony, who he was. And so we're going to go to Genesis. Genesis 1. Still recording here. Genesis 1. Genesis 1, verse 26. And Ahiah, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God, verse 28, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that removed upon the earth. Verse 29, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, and that which is the fruit of tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. That was our food back then. You know, it wasn't flesh. It wasn't the killing of the animals. That was not. It was the herbs. It says it was for meat. The herbs. It never said it was for smoking. You know, the see the fruits. It was all for meat to eat. And it keep going, you know, it says, and to every beast, and to the earth, and to every fowl of the earth, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given um excuse me. And then it says, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, where there is life, I have given every green herb for me. And it was so. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. In the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So everything that he made. Oh, wow. So, brothers and sisters, this is what I wanted to show you. This is what I wanted to um tell you about. There's no such thing as death, and the destruction of the flesh, of the, you know, like everything, you know, like the birthdays. You know, we're made eternal. Don't limit your life. Just like Christ said, he that believeth in me shall never die. Do you believe this? Thou believest? Do you believe it? Like, Father didn't make us to die, to perish away. He didn't. This was the fallen. They taught us. The fallen taught us weapons of warfare, taught us to kill one another, to kill our neighbor. Excuse me. That's what Satan came to pervert everything. He did. Everything that what was an image, that's the image of the Most High God, he twisted that. Everything he twisted. And so the Father has given us his word. You know, has given us his word. But if you go to Genesis 2, uh, so we're going to start chapter 2, verse 14. No, not verse 14, I'm sorry. Verse 15. Okay. so so chapter so Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. And the Lord God took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. Verse 16. And the Lord God commanded that man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. 17. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in that day thou shalt eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. So the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So this was knowledge that he said not to partake of, not to take in, not to believe in, not to agree in it. And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him and help me for him. 19. And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. 20. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet of him for him. 21. The Lord God caused a deep, check this out, verse 21. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. Thou shalt be called woman, because she was taken out of man. 24. Therefore shall man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, and the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. So so Adam and Eve partook of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They partook of something, they partook of evil, something that they didn't know. They did not know what evil was until they partook of it. You know, they were created for one purpose. They were created to multiply and live forever. Like if we read chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. He made him. And he said unto the woman, had God said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? So he's trying to twist things. The serpent's trying to twist things. It said, had God said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Verse 2. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden. Verse 3. But of the fruit of the tree which is the midst of the garden, God said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. Twisted it. Verse 5. For God doth know that in the day ye eat, therefore then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. This is talking about knowledge. Knowledge. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband and her, and he did eat. Verse 7. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Verse 8. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. 9. And the Lord God called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? Even then he knew, where are you? 10. And he said, I heard the voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, I was naked, and I hid myself. He hid himself because of shame. And he said, who told thee that I was naked? He's like, who told you that you were naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree wherefore I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? 12. And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Started to blame, accuse. Like, it was her fault. And the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. Verse 14, the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. Between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. 16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Verse 17. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten the tree